I can't believe it's been 20 years. Still gonna take your father to the anniversary?
We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him.
We're still waiting for Independence Day 3, and honestly, it feels like waiting for a spaceship that's lost its navigation system. Director Roland Emmerich, the mastermind behind the franchise, has ambitious plans for Independence Day 3. According to him, it was supposed to pick up a year or two after Resurgence and follow the same characters on an intergalactic adventure. Yes, you heard that right. He wanted to take the battle into space. New alien species, massive sci-fi battles, and a scale so large it'd make the first two films look like backyard fireworks. Sounds cool, right? Except there's one glaring problem. Resurgence didn't exactly set the world on fire. More like it set off a sparkler and fizzled out. Even if Emmerich wanted to stick to his original plans, it's been so long that everything would need a massive overhaul. The actors have moved on, the fans have cooled off, and the franchise's reputation took a serious hit with Resurgence. It took Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin 2 decades to come up with a sequel to Independence Day. 20 years. That's practically ancient history in Hollywood time. But when they finally dropped Independence Day Resurgence in 2016, the hype was, let's just say, underwhelming. Sure, Jeff Goldblum and Bill Pullman came back, but the heart and soul of the original, Will Smith, was missing. And trust me, his absence was like leaving the cherry off a sundae. Without Captain Stephen Hiller cracking jokes and saving the day, the whole thing felt a little off. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Why wasn't Will Smith in the sequel? The official word was scheduling conflicts, which is Hollywood code for I've got better things to do. And honestly, can you blame him? Smith had moved on to Suicide Squad that year. Meanwhile, his character in Resurgence got the ultimate cold shoulder, killed off screen. No heroic last stand, no blaze of glory, just a quick mention that he died during a test flight. With Smith gone, the movie tried to pass the torch to a younger generation. Liam Hemsworth, Jesse Usher, Maika Monroe. They had the energy, but the magic? Not so much. The movie also aimed for a bigger intergalactic storyline, introducing a friendly alien AI called the Sphere and teasing a galactic rebellion against the Harvesters, those pesky planet-destroying aliens from the first film. Sounds cool in theory, right? Well, in execution, not. Resurgence cost $165 million to make, more than double the budget of the original, but it only made $103 million domestically and $389 million worldwide. For context, the first movie raked in $817 million globally, and that was back in 1996. Adjusted for inflation, Resurgence looks like pocket change. The opening weekend alone was telling. 41 million versus the original's 50 million. And remember, the first one came out on July 4th weekend, a perfect marketing tie-in. The sequel? June 24th. Who planned that? Critics weren't kind either. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a dismal 29% from critics and a near identical 30% from audiences. It's like everyone collectively shrugged and said, meh. The new characters couldn't fill the shoes of their predecessors, and the expanded universe setup felt like an awkward pitch for more sequels that no one asked for. And honestly, it's not hard to see why. Without the original's charm and grounded storytelling, Resurgence felt like a cash grab trying to ride on nostalgia. Sure, the visuals were bigger and the stakes were higher, but the heart wasn't there. Audiences didn't connect with the new crew, and the bold intergalactic setup came off more as sci-fi overkill than a natural progression. So, what's the legacy here? The original Independence Day is still a classic, quirky, thrilling, and endlessly rewatchable. But the sequel? It's a cautionary tale. You can't just throw in bigger explosions, new characters, and a galaxy-wide plot and expect the same magic. And if you're going to sideline your most iconic character, well, you'd better have a backup plan. The original Independence Day isn't just a movie, it's a phenomenon. Back in 1996, it wasn't just the biggest movie of the year, it was a cinematic juggernaut that left everything else in the dust. Will Smith was the king of Hollywood, and this movie cemented his status as the ultimate box office magnet. Honestly, if you were alive then and didn't know the phrase "Welcome to Earth," I'd question your pop culture credentials. The numbers? They speak for themselves. Independence Day raked in a jaw-dropping $817 million worldwide. To give you some perspective, the second-place film Twister made $496 million, almost $300 million less. Ouch. And coming in third was Mission Impossible, which barely crossed $450 million. Meanwhile, Independence Day crushed the competition and flexed its way to $306 million just in domestic earnings. That's right. It wasn't just winning, it was sprinting laps around everyone else. Will Smith as Captain Stephen Hiller and Jeff Goldblum as David Levinson were an unstoppable duo. Smith had charisma oozing out of every pore, and Goldblum brought his signature brand of quirky genius. Throw in massive alien ships blowing up the White House, and you had a recipe for a blockbuster so iconic that people still talk about it almost 3 decades later. And let's be real, who didn't want to jump into a fighter jet and punch aliens after watching that? Independence Day is the only movie in Will Smith's entire career to top the global yearly box office. Yep, not Men in Black, not Bad Boys, not even Aladdin. While Men in Black had an impressive run in 1997, coming in third worldwide with $588 million, and Aladdin soared past $1 billion in 2019, neither managed to dominate their respective years like Independence Day did. To this day, Independence Day remains a towering achievement in Smith's career. It was a perfect storm of action, humor, and spectacle that hit all the right notes. And while Smith has had plenty of successes since then, nothing has ever quite matched the sheer scale of what he and that movie accomplished. In 1996, aliens invaded Earth, Will Smith saved the day, and the world cheered. And honestly, it doesn't get much better than that. Now here's where things get a bit more interesting. Emmerich hasn't given up. He's holding out hope that Independence Day 3 could find a new life on Disney+. That's right. The director is eyeing the streaming giant as a potential home for the project. And honestly, it's not the worst idea. Disney has a knack for turning floundering franchises into streaming hits, and the small screen might be just what this franchise needs to redeem itself. Emmerich's pitch is simple. Disney Plus gets more content to keep its subscribers happy, and he gets to finally make his Interstellar sequel. Plus, let's face it, reboots and revivals on streaming platforms are all the rage these days. Nostalgia sells, and if Emmerich can deliver a fresh take on the alien invasion saga, there's a chance Independence Day 3 could find its footing. But let's not pop the champagne just yet. There's still no official word from Disney about greenlighting the project, and the longer the silence stretches, the less likely it feels. The truth is, Resurgence's poor reception probably scared off both fans and studio execs. Dropping another movie into theaters might feel like a gamble no one wants to take. Streaming, though? That's a safer bet, but even that requires a solid story and enough fan interest to justify the investment. So, here we are, stuck in the waiting room of the Independence Day franchise, wondering if the spaceship will ever take off. Emmerich has the passion, Disney has the platform, and fans have the nostalgia, but is that enough to make Independence Day 3 happen? Right now, it's a question without an answer. All we can do is keep an eye on the skies, or more realistically, on Disney's press releases. Until then, I'll be here, rewatching the original Independence Day and pretending Resurgence didn't happen. Because let's be honest, that's the real Independence Day 3 we all want, the one where they go back in time and redo the sequel the right way. So what do you think? Is Independence Day 3 ever going to blast off, or has this spaceship lost its fuel? Let me know in the comments. Are you ready for another alien invasion, or should the franchise just beam itself into retirement? And hey, if you enjoyed this deep dive into Hollywood's intergalactic drama, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. There's always more where this came from, because in the world of movies, the invasion never really ends. Stay tuned.